Hey, everybody, it is Tim Gillette, and we're here with another episode of the Tim Gillette Show. Now, as I told you, this show is all about meeting the coolest people on the planet. Today's guest is no different, all right? This person has got to be cool because they were referred to me from a friend who I thought was really cool, and I am going to get to know this girl, Laurie, today live on air because I don't know her other than I glanced at her website. I made sure, she wasn't, falling apart at the seams online before I brought her on, but I mean, she's cool. She seems cool. We had a quick chat before we came live on air, and we were both laughing our heads off. So I'm sure this is going to be a fun show today. Share it out with your friends and let them know they want to tune in. This is not a show you want to miss live. I'm positive of that. So let's go live with Laurie. Laurie, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name.
Teixeira.
Teixeira?
Pretend there's no I's in there and it's easier to then pronounce.
Why don't you just call it Texas? I mean, for us Texas people.
So most people, call me Mrs. T when they talk to me.
But that's funny. My dad was a school teacher. Rather than say Gillette, they just called him Mr. G.
There you go.
Yeah. Right. It's something about that. Some people just go, that's just a comfortable thing for them. So, So, Laurie, I did do a little bit of investigating. All right. And I don't do a lot, but I do a little bit. So I know something. And I see something like by looking at your Facebook page that you come from the Northeast originally.
I am originally from the great state of Massachusetts, Fall River in particular, the home of Lizzie Borden. That's what we're known for.
Okay.
So, yes.
Well, Massachusetts, all I got to say is Wednesday is. Oh, she's been out of Massachusetts way too long.
Because when you say it, then I'm going to be mad at myself.
I lived in Massachusetts for 2 years. Wednesday's Prince Spaghetti Day.
Oh, the old commercials. Okay.
Yeah. I've never forgotten that one. I don't know why. But anyway.
We did not eat that in our household. That's why I forgot Wednesday is Prince Spaghetti Day. But it is.
I knew one thing when I lived in New England, all right, that it was, any day with a good tip meant Chinese food day. We had this Chinese food restaurant that was just immaculate, all right? This guy was so good. And it was like, I remember in the 1980s, it was a $60 order. And I didn't care. If I got a good tip, it was a $60 order going right to the Chinese store.
Now, did you have chow mein sandwiches out there? Because I've never seen it very outside of many places.
No, I not. He had what was called the poo-poo platter.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was just fabulous. It was such a great array of things. It was so fabulous. Yeah. And down here in Texas, they don't have that. They have spring rolls which look like burritos.
Okay, that's not bad.
It's Texas, okay? It's Texas. All right, we're close to Mexico here.
The bigger, the better sometimes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I also see that you're very experienced as a therapist. All right, it's not like in the entrepreneur world. It's not something we brag about, therapists. But tell us how about how long you've been in this?
A little over 30 years. So I have been in it for quite some time now. So yes. When I first just started therapy, as a therapist, I thought that I would kind of be in it for a little bit. And then I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do because I fell into becoming a therapist, I felt. And that wasn't going to be my long-term thing. So 30 years later, still doing it and kind of finding a reigniting passion for it has been just really amazing. So I can't imagine doing anything else.
Well, I mean, when I think of therapist, and I'm not putting you in the same category by all means, but I also think of lawyer. All right. It's like, It's one of those things that you don't go brag about. Yeah, I'm this, but there's ways that you actually help people in it. All right. I want to criticize all the lawyers in the world, but I've liked a few of mine. All right. Over the years, because they got me some favorable cases. So.
Results. There you go.
Yeah. Got me favorable results. Yeah. So I like those. It's the ones that, my ex-wife hired. I didn't like. No.
So I hope my clients working with me find favorable results. But I think the biggest referral sources that I have actually are for my clients. Yeah. And those are the best because it's people telling people you need to go work with Laurie. So that is like the greatest.
Well, I would think in the therapy, all right, you are vulnerable. All right. You're very vulnerable to be in there to getting help from a therapist. And that would take it's almost like a dating relationship. You really have got to know that person. You know what I mean? And when you get in a relationship like that, well, yeah, of course you're going to recommend other people. I can't imagine, I get online dating, all right, but I don't look at every online dating profile like, yep, this is the girl I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with. No, you look and okay, let me go check this out. And again, therapist is like, I don't want to go check a million therapists out.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's important to find a good match.
Yeah. So over the years, all right, 30 years of doing it, any tragedies that have come about from it that you went, oh man, I got to learn not to do that again?
Oh, probably many. I think that it's been a whole learning process. And I think that one of the bigger learning curves for me was, for years I worked with adolescents, at-risk adolescents. But when I moved to Georgia, I ended up over time working for the military and dealing with soldiers and the trauma coming back from Iraq.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the biggest learning curve of feeling outside of my comfort zone. But at the same time, I was meant to be there.
Yeah. That's a specialty field in its own. What made you even go down that route?
If you feel like it's kind of divinely inspired, because there was no other way I was going to go down there at the time and do that work, I feel like that's what I was supposed to do. So, but through that has been, again, the best part of my work and my career is doing that work.
Yeah. And you know what I mean? It's, I realize some of the stuff that you talk about with your clients is not something you can share on a podcast. You know what I mean? It's very private information. But the people who are seeking you, all right, how do you get them to open up to you so that you can actually build that trust in the beginning?
So my specialty is working with complex trauma. So people have a long history of trauma. And I think the biggest thing that I say is I hold out the hope that things are going to be so much better if you decide to go down this path of working on this journey of healing. And I think when they feel like there is real hope for change, that's a connection that they're worth trying.
Okay. So, I mean, and do you meet in the field you're in now? Do you meet a lot of resistance in it, or are they open by the time they come to you? Are they open to go, hey, I've got to go down this route?
By the time, half and half. I would say, like, when you start diving a little bit deeper, there becomes resistance because there's uncomfortable feelings that you have to kind of go through. But I say I try and do it with the least amount of having to reprocess and relive the traumas that you've already experienced.
Okay.
So hopefully I make it as easy as possible to let the stuff go.
Now, when you say, some of them are having to relive the trauma that they've experienced, I relived something a couple weeks ago. All right. And this is just personal. And now I've got tools that I've learned how to heal, Tim, and how to deal with this when it comes up. Right. And mine was just, it was something stupid that happened on like a New Year's Eve 30 some odd years ago. And it came to my mind and immediately it started bringing up anger.
Right.
Like, what's the anger, hateful, mean way to handle the situation? If I could repeat that again. And then I went back and wait a minute, the guy in the situation that I was in with the guy that it happened to, we became friends after that, like good friends for years up until he passed away. And I'm like, why am I going back in my head now? Because I was that one situation and going, why am I building anger up? Going, how can I fix that situation? And again, I'm starting to build the anger up in my mind and really reliving it, going, oh crap, forgetting the fact that, Tim, do you not remember the 5 years after it, how good life got?
Right. But there was something that had that anger be stuck.
Yeah.
Right. Or else you wouldn't have felt it again when you thought about it or it came back to mind.
Yeah.
So those are things that we kind of work on is something triggered it, brought up the emotion, even though you shouldn't be feeling it anymore and you have a friendship and things should be different, but it was still there.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that we identify, and I have ways of clearing it so the anger attached to that situation goes.
Okay. So I guess, probably there's some healing there. Maybe I need to do on the anger, but I do look at it immediately. I mean, the following day I was on the call with my mastermind, my inner circle, and we're marketing mastermind. And immediately I related it. I'm honest with him. I said, so I'm going to tell you this. And I realized something out of the whole thing. And immediately I said to my mastermind, so often some of you are going, man, I wished I would have back when. And I'm like, stop. The biggest thing I learned out of this whole dream sequence I had was I can't change the past.
Right.
I can change from today on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, in your case here, you're healing the past because there's some people, I mean, I literally was able to come out of it and go back to a positive mode within 45 minutes. But there are people who can't.
Yes.
If they get in that, and I assume that's when they get to you, that they stay there, not hours, not days, not weeks, years.
Years, yes.
Yeah.
And it's not just that one event. Usually there's multiple different ones that have happened. So you're adding one on top of another. So yeah, it's kind of peeling back layers of an onion, we call it. What's the first layer? What's the next one? And what's the next one? And then hopefully we get to the bottom and we're good. And we can find peace and some joy and happiness and fulfillment.
Now, Laurie, did you go through any trauma or something in your life that made you go, well, I need to go down this road?
Yes. And it was interesting when I started to work for the military and decided what I knew wasn't going to work. And I started looking for techniques that would. That's when I started to discover other techniques. Now, in order to do that, you have to go through your stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would never do anything or ask anybody to do anything that I have not done, I have not worked through, I have not utilized and found success in.
Good point. I mean, we do the same thing, but yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there was a lot of clearing of some of my trauma or traumas that I had experienced through my life, and found peace with that. So that's where I could say I not only know these techniques are going to work, I know they're going to work because they've worked.
Yeah.
I can tell you the difference.
I'm not only the hair club president, I'm actually a customer.
I'm a member, right? There you go. Yes. So there's no doubt in my mind, if you stick with it, things will change.
Well, I mean, and everything in this life is a process. All right. I sit and look at my life now. And I can look at investing. I can look at my businesses. I can look at my marriages. I can look at, all this, right? And go, well, yeah, if I'd only could have changed this. Well, then I sit years on that and realize, I can't change the past. If I started acting and doing things 4 years ago, I'd be past it maybe by now, right? And sometimes you probably deal with your customers, your clients going, but you're not going to heal from it overnight. But if we don't get started today, you ain't never going to heal from this thing.
There you go. Yes. A year from now, 4 years from now, you're going to be in the same position. So yes, when are you ready to start the journey of true healing? Yeah.
So what is the longest you've had to work with a client to help them get through some stuff?
I still have people that I started seeing in 2009.
Oh, wow.
Now it's not continuous every week, right? We work on a piece. They go away for a while. Life happens. They come back and ready for another piece. But to deal with the journey of the complex trauma, people have been in it for over 10 years now. And still working through stuff, feeling a lot happier and better and easier. But, when you think of a deployment of every day going through stuff.
Yeah.
And to clear that stuff, it can take a long time.
Is there, I mean, if you think about this now, but the people have gone, especially the military, all right, is there things that we could have put our military people through before they went into those zones that would have helped them? Is there tools that we can start now giving them and going, hey, before you guys go into battle, we need to prepare you?
Right. At that point, I don't think they were, because I don't think we were ready to go into battle at that time the way we did, or didn't think that people would be now.
We've had over the past 20 years,
Yes, but during that time, people have learned stuff like through heart math of heart coherence and breathing, and having handheld devices that can help you breathe and change your mindset from being angry to breathing and thinking positive and feeling that shift, so that you practice enough. Again, it happens. It's there. And other techniques that they have learned that they can take with them and do when something is right after something has happened, that can really just move the emotions through so they don't get stuck.
Yeah.
Right. But at a time when you're doing something and you know that you have to keep going, you don't have time to deal with it, you can't be in your feelings.
Well, and I personally, Laurie, have had something like that happen in 93 or 94. I don't remember the time frame. It might have been later than that. My mom, I lived in Southern Pennsylvania. My mom and dad lived in Poconos mostly their whole life, right? And my mom came down with her friend Jenny was going to some shopping thing they were doing, stopped by our house to visit me and my daughter, and my wife at the time wasn't home, but visited us for a couple minutes, used the bathroom, hung out with her granddaughter. All right. And it's okay. Well, I'll see you guys next weekend. And she gets in her car, and 1.5 miles down the road, a guy pulls in front of her and cuts her off. And totaled her car, and they had to cut her friend out of the car and cut her clothes off to get her in the ambulance.
Wow.
And I'm called by this guy who's a stranger in my hometown going, my name is so-and-so. Your mom's just been in an accident. We're at such and such intersection. Come down here.
Okay.
And I hop in my truck and I get down there and I walk around to the driver's side of the car, and I about lost it. I'm here watching my mom pickled in her car. Mm-hmm. And I literally did one of these, dear God, take my emotions out of this right now. I don't have time to deal with the emotional side of this. Please take it away so I can handle the situation and get up. Right. And I don't remember the tools or tactics I did to help my mom through it or help her friend through it. And I went through that day on autopilot. Right. But I'm going to tell you that moment of walking up and seeing my mom in that car. Mm-hmm. All right. And as I'm pulling up, all right, my daughter's with me, and she's like 8 years old or 7 years old at the time. Mm-hmm. I literally had a friend, and I basically stopped I knew as I seen the car, right, don't take granddaughter there. Stop. I have to go handle this. You know what I mean? And that, while it's not something that some of these people have seen in battle, that was a tragic moment that I don't know where the strength came to go. I need to shut the emotions off. I don't know. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where I learned that. But when I say tools, is there a tool that we can go? Is there a magic off switch? I felt like it was an off switch on the back of my head that day. If there was a magic off switch, and I could switch it every time, and then go do the work that would cause multiple trauma in my head for years. Right. If I could go shut it off before.
Not necessarily before, but I think having the image and walking up and all of that part in your mind, right? That part can be released on and healed. So those emotions that you felt from the time you got the call to driving to seeing, and then the aftermath, that can be cleared. Yeah. So that when you think about the accident, you think about, yes, I can see it, but I'm not feeling any of those emotions anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the bigger part, is the memories are going to be there. So if something, TV show or something triggers that and you remember, the emotions don't come with it. Yeah. It's when the emotions still come with it, then we sit there with these emotions, and now we got to do something. So if the emotion now that it was triggered was anger, and somebody came in the room to say something with us, well, we're mad. Yeah. So I'm probably not going to be so nice to the person who just walked in the moment of me now being mad. Yeah. When it wasn't even necessary, because I wasn't even mad right now, but I was triggered by something, feel it, and then respond.
Well, it also goes, I'm thinking of you and thinking of emotions. Basically, I've learned how to control my emotions over the years, as I told you in my previous story. And one of the things I've learned over the years in doing that is knowing how to, knowing how to do things in control. And I had this whole thing I was going to tell you about it, and then my mind just went blank. I got to love interviews like this because I'm not perfect. Anyway, when I remember again, I'll pounce it back in. But anyway. Anyway, so let me go into this. So some of the things, let's get off the trauma for a moment. All right, maybe we can come back to it or not, but let's get off to this. You you said you were born and raised up in Massachusetts, but now you're in Georgia. What prompted the move to Georgia, and how long you been there?
So I was prompted to the move by meeting a soldier who was stationed in Georgia, fell in love, married, moved to Georgia.
Some hot guy in a uniform turned you on to Georgia, huh?
And I was also perfect timing, because I was tired of being in snow. And the last time there was a blizzard, I lived on the second floor, and there was probably 20 steps down to the bottom. Yeah. And I walked from the top step to hit the next step, and it was a sheet of ice. Yeah. So I went from the top to a slide, slid all the way down to the bottom, and said, I'm done. I'm not going through another blizzard. So everything happened at the right time, and moved to Georgia. Said, I don't have to worry about snow anymore.
Yeah. I lived in Pennsylvania, moved up to Massachusetts, and then moved back to Pennsylvania. And you know what I mean? And it's because that's where my first wife was. I lived in the town my first wife was from. And literally when she left, I'm like, you're not in my life. I'm not in this town anymore. Bye. Well, where are you going? south. I don't know where, but I'm going south.
Right. So yes. So I haven't been back to snow. I will go in the summer and visit family. But yeah, I don't think I've been up there for a winter yet.
Oh, no.
It's been 20 years now.
Yeah. I got stuck. Oh, no. I moved. I've been here 22 years. And 2010, New Year's Eve, 2010, New Year's Eve, January 2011, my father passes away New Year's Eve. I have to get on a plane New Year's Day, 2011, and fly to Pennsylvania with my mother, who was visiting me in Texas.
Okay.
All right. And I have to get there. I have to rent a car. All right. I spend weeks there. Like I was there for 3.5 weeks. Luckily, we have, my parents lived in like a resort type town, and one of the neighbors has a chalet that we know. So I just rented the chalet for a month and stayed in it. Luckily, I was able to do that. But for a month, I have to go buy long johns because I don't have any. I've got to go buy a heavy coat because I don't have any. I got to buy a hat, gloves. All right. I've got to get boots. I got to learn how to use a snow shovel again. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Talk about trauma.
Yes. None of that stuff's needed in warm weather. Maybe a nice sweater, heavy sweater, but that's about it. Yeah.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We get snow down here in Texas about twice, a decade.
Okay.
Yeah. I can live with that. But, and it's funny you said Georgia. When I was in Pennsylvania in the early 90s, I drove tractor trailer, and almost always my routes were Philadelphia to Atlanta, Philadelphia to Atlanta, Philadelphia to Atlanta. And I remember going January, February in Atlanta, and then having to drive home going, I don't want to go home. I want to stay down here.
Right. Yeah. So yes, I'm on the coast, so I get the beach.
Aha.
Yeah.
The beach, baby.
The beach. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, you didn't live in beach town. No, in Massachusetts, did you?
Not far forward. Probably about 30 minutes from Cape Cod.
So everything's 30 minutes from Cape Cod. Massachusetts is a small state. Let's face it, you can throw a stone and hit the ocean in Massachusetts, right?
That's true. That's true. So the beach was like 10 minutes. There was a beach that was 10 minutes from us growing up. And then we go spend every summer camping in Cape Cod and spend the summer there on the beach.
I love Cape Cod. I mean, I remember my first wife and we went down there a lot. And I used to go down to Martha's Vineyard. I haven't been back to Martha's Vineyard since 1988. And I would love to go back and visit in the summertime. In the summertime. I repeat that, in the summertime.
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah, it is. So, but you're down. How long have you been in Georgia now?
20 years.
20 years. Yeah. Yes. And when your husband get out of the military, or is he still in?
No, he has been out for the past 19. So when I moved, he was in the following year. He was able to put in his papers to retire.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then basically you said, okay, we're in the South. We're staying here.
I'm staying here. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he gave me the choice.
Yeah.
He's from North Carolina.
Okay.
Wilmington on the beach. So there's something about water that calls me to stay. Yeah.
So Wilmington, the beach area in North Carolina. That's where I thought I was going to move when I was young. When I said I was going to go south, I was surprised I ended up in Texas. But anyway, yeah,
beautiful there.
And have you traveled any overseas?
Yes, in doing the work one time a year, I would plan an amazing vacation because that would be my thing to de-stress, clear my mind, and just see places. So the year before the pandemic, I went on a cruise in Italy. So that was absolutely beautiful. So yes, I've been overseas. And so I'm really waiting for the world to open up and safely go somewhere else so I can get back to my vacations. Yeah.
So I just had to throw this comment up there because that's my cousin Cindy, who lives in Dunmore, Pennsylvania.
It's not so bad, huh?
It's not so bad, darling. She's lived in Dunmore her whole life. So, but I go back and visit her, and I think I visited her in the fall once, but mostly in the summer I come visit Cindy. Anyway, right. I love you, Cindy.
Yeah. And it's really beautiful with the change. I do miss the change of seasons.
Yeah,
I just don't miss blizzards.
No. So one of the things we've done with change of seasons now, I mean, here in America, I mean, I'm sure you've done road trips, right? I've done road trips. I've driven on motorcycle, car, all over America, and I love our country. I love the beauty our country has. But like in the fall, I want to go visit, like, say, Tennessee, like the mountains in Tennessee, the east side of Tennessee. Maybe go into Missouri. All right. North Carolina, another great thing of that. All right. For me, North Carolina, my favorite town in North Carolina is Asheville, North Carolina, which you've
That's
ever been there.
beautiful. Yes.
Way
Beautiful.
off on the west side, but oh my gosh, it is a beautiful little town. I love that town. I've been there in the spring. It was a really neat town as well. So what are some places you've traveled to in America that you like?
So every summer, fall, I do the trek up into Maine and New Hampshire to see the changing of the leaves and the mountains. Absolutely gorgeous. One of my favorite places in the States is actually Utah.
Yeah.
I love the beauty of Utah. Yeah. And if you asked me before, I would never thought of going to Utah. But when I went there into the mountains and the canyons and just see the red clay, the red rock and the beauty of it, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Utah was the last state I had to visit in the lower 48, if you could imagine that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
No. I went on a motorcycle trip in 2010 out to California, up the coast, in and back down. And I hit every state but Utah. And yeah, it was 2 years later or 3 years later, my brother was moving from Florida to Florida to California, and he stopped here in Texas, and I rode with him. We rode up through Wyoming and went across. That was the first time I was ever in Utah. I stopped, took pictures. I'm like, I finally made it to Utah, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it is a beautiful state.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I've enjoyed visiting. I have friends who moved from Dallas up to Salt Lake City, and they say, yeah, it's a little different temperature, but yeah, they love the view of the mountains and stuff like that.
And again, not during the winter though, because yes.
No. Okay. No. So, and so you've traveled. All right. You've enjoyed life a little bit. You guys have any kids?
I have one daughter.
One daughter.
Yes.
All right. Is she ruling the world yet?
She's starting. She's now 19, going to be 20. So college, having fun. But
you think it's over at 19? I got news for you. With a 30-year-old daughter, the journey is not over.
So I'm trying, to gently push her out. But yes, she has every comfort at home. So yes, why kind of?
I know.
Go anywhere, right? Yeah.
In 2014, all right, my father-in-law passed away, and literally we were living in we had this huge house on the lake, and everybody was living in it. And when he passed away, we told all the kids, we're selling the house. You got to go find a place to live. And they were all, no more mommy and daddy taking care of it. And we went to a 1-bedroom condo so nobody could move in.
Oh, like, did you keep the lake house? How gorgeous.
No, we sold the lake house. It just, it was a beautiful lake house, but literally for our lifestyle, it was way out of the way. Everything we did for work was not there.
Got it.
And it was my father-in-law bought it. It was great for him. And then he built a second story onto it. But my wife and I would have had to travel every day, and we only had motorcycles. We didn't have cars at the time. So it was a 20-mile ride up in the rain some days to go to where we were working, and a 20-mile back in the rain. Okay. And no, that's all right. Yeah, boosting the kids out. All right. My daughter at the time would have been 28 years old. And she's like, and finally it was like, okay, you're on your own. No more. Yeah. And our boys did very well. My daughter struggled, but yeah. I personally, I got to tell you, I was at 18 years of age. I was on my own.
Right.
My brother Kenny, 18 years of age, on his own. So my two younger brothers, they stayed a little bit longer in the house, but us, we grew up in the 80s. All right. It was 18. Dad was like, great, your bags are packed. Have a nice life.
Yeah. No, I stayed till I was 21 at home, but that was working a full-time job, paying for my car. Like, you paid for your stuff. So we're giving you a roof so you can go to college, but the rest all on you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I was talking with my mom today. We didn't even get college. My dad's like, I'm not paying for your college. You want to go to college, you go ahead, but I'm not paying for it.
Oh no, I paid for college. Yeah, they just gave me the room to sleep at night and food. So that I was happy with that. Yeah.
So as a matter of fact, I had a whole story behind it. I haven't told it in years, Laurie, and mine was you literally 18 years of age. My mom said, you will not own a motorcycle, live in my house. I said, okay. I rented a room above a bar and bought a motorcycle. I literally, with a matter of 3 weeks after my 18th birthday, I had a motorcycle, and I was told, you're not going to own a motorcycle, live in my house ever. And now I have 1 million miles on 2 wheels. So, I've since sold my bikes and I don't have them anymore. And but still, it's like my mom used to brag to everybody how safe I was on a motorcycle. So,
Good.
so now that you know the journey of what you're up for with your daughter at 19, and you're going to be facing for the next 11 years. Yeah, no.
I'll email you when she's about 27.
Yeah. Okay. Let me know. Let me know how that works out for you. So, I mean, you guys seem to have some fun in your lives as well as work.
Mm-hmm.
I take it you've built your business around the fact that you can enjoy life as well as do what you have to do or do what you love to do.
Right.
How long have you had this as being a business and not being, not working for someone else?
2011, I opened up my private practice.
Okay.
And the supervisor that I was working with at the time said that I was doing kind of alternative healing techniques. And it wasn't fitting into kind of the military training.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So he said I couldn't do those there, even though they were helping soldiers heal. So that was my push to become an entrepreneur.
Cool.
And to go out on my own and say, I can do this. I just can't do it here, but I can do it. And so I was like, yeah.
And what were some of the struggles that you faced, all right, having to go from just doing the job to doing the job as a business owner?
It was not having the steady paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're working, every Friday, this is what's going to show up in your bank account.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was not knowing what was going to come in. It was insurance payments. So they would trickle in here and there.
Yes.
And there would be problems with that. It was no shows. You don't get paid for people not coming.
Yeah.
So it was a whole different learning curve to be a sole entrepreneur, having to try and make enough money to still do everything that you need to do, but not want to return back, because there was something about the freedom and having your own schedule and time that was so nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I knew I wouldn't go back.
That's the key. I tell everybody now, I will work 80 hours a week to avoid getting a 40-hour week job.
Yes, and I do that.
My wife and I sitting on the couch in our pajamas, still working with our laptops on our laps. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Right.
we don't have anything like that in our world. No, not at all.
It's so true. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's, most people, when they come out and they go into the business world, I know I tell people my dad, I got a lot of great life lessons from my dad. But if I ever asked my dad about running a business, I would have failed. My father was never going to have a business of his own. He just, he did not have the mindset to do the job and run a business. I love my dad to death. All right. I'm not putting my dad down for that. That's just something my dad couldn't do. My mom could run a business.
Okay.
All right. And she's run several successful businesses because my mom was, bookkeeper and into finance. So she got the idea of it being a business.
Right.
So, and most people don't. When I asked you that, what's some of the struggles? That is usually the struggle to have people. They're like, well, I know how to do the job, but I don't know how to make a business out of it.
Yes.
And I like that you mentioned the paycheck. That there is the ups and downs of the pay period. And I in 2018 we bought our current condo, and when we were getting it, we were getting a mortgage. I'm getting my first mortgage ever in my life, and this lady, I'm at our bank that we've been doing banking with for years. I'm like, we're applying for a mortgage. She goes, I said, this is my first mortgage. She goes, oh, you're 50 years old and you're getting your first house. Isn't that awesome? I'm like, nah, it's been about my 11th or 12th house. It's just my first mortgage. How do you buy a house without a mortgage?
Right.
And I'm like, well, when you're an entrepreneur, when you have a good year, you pay for the roof over your head. She goes, oh, okay. I says, because if you don't, your wife leaves.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying I'm smart or anything, but I went through two wives before I figured that lesson out.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
So, but that's part of the business of running our thing. So often we get to, well, that paycheck's not there. And we don't get into the idea, well, I can't run out and go to dinner all the time.
Correct.
Because I don't have that money in the bank to go do it. And I think some people miscommunicate that when they look at that. In your business world, though, all right, are you looking forward to, hey, this is a day I'm going to retire and I'm never going to do this anymore and I'm going to go sit on a beach? Or are you going, I'm going to do some form of this for as long as I live?
When I was working actually a full-time job, I would have said I will retire as soon as that day is to retire and collect my Social Security.
Yeah.
Running my own business and having the freedom to do so many different things. My husband says, when are you retiring? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, are you going to retire when we're 65? We can travel to the United States. I'll travel with you, but I don't think I'm retiring. You know, I love what I do. It feels like it is my life's purpose. It is kind of who I am, and what I do is kind of mixed in together. So I don't have a retirement day anymore.
Yeah,
it's like I'll do it for as long as I can.
My wife has a job. My wife has a job, so she's looking forward to that. But I'm not.
Right.
I have a business. I have two businesses. Yeah. Same as you.
So yeah, didn't think it would change, but it changed.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So, and truthfully, I mean, I'm always someone who listens to others when they speak. All right, about the struggle they went. And I listened to our former president, Trump, years before he was president, at a speech, and he talked about a friend he had who retired and then got bored and tried to come back and never made a comeback. And I remember, Mr. Trump saying, "I'll never retire." You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, and now it makes sense, because now it's like, I mean, this was like 15 years ago I heard that. And now I'm like, oh my God, the guy just isn't ever going to quit. He's just going to keep going. But there's something to that, because he learned that lesson. And I always listen to others when they learn that lesson.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Do you tune into when people say something and go, caught that lesson?
100%. Yeah. Yes. And again, as I am trying to increase my business and move out and do different things, you learn from the best.
Yeah.
Learn from people who have already been there. I don't want to repeat. I don't need to repeat the wheel.
Yeah.
I want to follow in your success, and you're going to cut that in half time or a quarter of the time. Yeah. I'm ready to listen. I'm going to take notes and listen to everything you have to say. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's interesting because, I tell people in our industry, I mean, seek advice from those people who have been there, done that, still doing it.
Yes. And doing it successfully. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, learn from the mistakes of those people who've made the mistakes. Don't repeat the mistakes. So, something I like to ask my guests as we get towards the end of this is, and as a matter of fact, this happened in Massachusetts, as a matter of fact. In 1980s, I worked a part-time job, and a gentleman who was my boss at that part-time job gave me a piece of advice one night on how to do my job, which has carried on as life advice ever since. And he basically told me, the job, I was having problems with a gentleman working during the day, coming in on my shift. And I said, I can't run my shift properly. And my boss said to me, in his wisdom, this was just wisdom to run the job. It wasn't life wisdom, but it turned into it. He said, Tim, when you're on this shift, pretend like you own this business. If it costs a dime on this, it's out of your pocket. If it makes a dime, it's in your pocket. Pretend like you own this business, and you'll always make the right decision. Since then, I have always taken ownership of everything I've done. Were you, when you were younger, given a piece of advice like that cemented in you, and it became a life advice for you?
I think part of it was, for me, some of the role models I had, that what they instilled in me was never stop trying and doing your best, and never let anybody else define you.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Right. And I think that was important. Growing up in the community I did, there was not, like, my family and cousins and stuff, we felt like we're the only minorities in the city. There wasn't that many.
Yeah.
So we kind of stood out. So if you got in trouble, you just they knew what couple of houses they were going to drive to do that. So it was very much, don't let anybody define you, because I felt like I was going to prove, and you were going to get to know me for who I was and what I can do. And if you thought or had preconceptions about me or my race, you were going to get to know me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were going to try. I wanted everybody to see me for me and what I could do and what I could bring to a situation. And I have always felt that no matter where I go, I want people to see me and get to know me and what I'm going to be able to do. So I think that is part of just my life philosophy.
That is so awesome, and it's funny. I mean, how old were you when you started developing?
That was probably about 7 or 8 years old in elementary school. Yeah.
You see that, folks? Today, I'm going to tell you, man. You give those 7-year-olds wisdom. You don't know where it's going to carry them, ladies and gentlemen.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
It changed their world and changed the world. Anyway,
yes, and it did. It did. It changed my world.
So. Now, I've always had to deal with things in my life, and everybody comes in and goes, well, I've got this problem. I've got that problem. You know what I mean? My wife was always saying, well, I'm overweight. And I'm like, dude, I've spent my whole life underweight, like to the point, like I couldn't get in the Navy underweight. That's pretty bad when you can't get into services because you're underweight. Yeah. But it was a thing in the 1980s. I could not get in the Navy because I was underweight for my height. But most people don't realize is everyone has an issue. And I guess you in therapy could probably know that. Everyone has issues.
Everybody has issues. Yes.
Just when you think that person over there, they don't know your problems. Guess what? They got their own.
Right. Yes. And that's about let anything define you. Don't let somebody else's in therapy like a diagnosis define you. That's like, to me, the worst thing. Don't come in here and tell me you got a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Just come in and tell me what you're facing in your life that we need to work through.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, Laurie, it's been fun having you on here today. Of course, I always have fun. People are getting to know who you are. I learned a little bit more about therapy today and how I need to work about that anger problem I have. I need to stop getting angry with the guy who makes me hot dogs. Anyway, I want the people on here to be able to find you. What is the best website they can reach you at, Laurie?
It is throughthehands.com.
Through the Hands. Where did you come up with that idea?
Through the Hands is there's a spiritual component of Through the Hands. And the other part is the techniques that I do in therapy. All use my hands. Tapping, some other techniques that I use. All use my hands. Tapping though. Yeah.
Oh.
On the body. Let's go of emotion. Takes it down. So I felt that was just, part of what happens is everything was through the hands.
Cool.
I'm starting to write. It's my hands. Like everything was like with my hands.
Yeah.
So that kind of just stuck with me.
My daughter, now I have a form of epilepsy, a seizure, and my daughter had the same thing when she was little. In her first seizure, we're at the doctor's, and I've taught my daughter to have a sense of humor about life from a young age. We're at the doctor, and the doctor says to my daughter, and she's really groggy and out of it, "Jess, how do you feel?" "With my hands, doc."
I love that. That was the best answer.
She was like 6 years old. "With my hands. That's how I feel, with my hands."
I think that was a dumb question that you just asked me. Don't you know that?
Oh.
I love that. Okay.
I know you're gonna probably tell everybody that now. That's gonna become your new story to tell everybody about my daughter doing that. Out of the mouth of babes, right? The best jokes ever.
It is true. Yep. Well, honest answers, right?
Yeah. Well, Laurie, it's been fun. All right. It's been unique finding out about you. All right. Before we close, though, I have a little game I play with all of my guests to close out called This or That.
All right.
I've got 9 questions just for Laurie. You ready?
Ready.
All right. Number 1, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, may the force be with you. Star Wars. Oh, yeah.
It is May, ladies and gentlemen. Just saying. Yeah. You were into Big Bang Theory, were you?
Oh, I love Big Bang Theory. Yes.
I loved how they had the wedding with Sheldon, and they had both Luke, the kid who played Luke Skywalker and the kid from Star Trek on there at the wedding, competing over who was going to do it. And the kid from Star Trek says, may the force be with you. He's like, and Sheldon goes, "It's not even your franchise."
Yeah.
Anyway, we move on. The world has had us stuck inside for quite some time. Are you now, because you're stuck inside, a dress-up girl, or are you still wearing your yoga pants and the dress up from the waist up?
No, I'm a yoga pants. I've always been extremely casual. So I will, that's me all the time.
Yeah. I'm always a jeans guy, so I always got jeans on. So, I had a thing in my contract for my speaking contract that I have to wear jeans. And I went into a country club one time and I walk in, they said, "You can't wear jeans." Right. And I literally walked into the speaker and I said, "My contract says I have to wear jeans. So you either have to pay me for not speaking, or you have to make a deal with the country club." And sure enough, they made a deal with the country club. And I spoke that day at the country club in jeans. That it's in my contract. I will not speak if I can't wear jeans.
I might remember that. Thank you.
I have a friend I learned this from a friend. A friend of mine has a no shoes clause.
No shoes.
He will not wear shoes. He wears flip flops.
Okay.
And if they tell him he has to wear shoes, it's an extra $75 charge. And there's one company he said that pays it every year.
Wow. Okay.
Firm to wear shoes. Anyway. So let's move on to another clothing option. We're both in the South now. We're from the North, but we're in the South.
Okay.
Heels or boots?
Oh, boots. I'm clumsy. I will trip all day in heels.
But like, you know, I mean, I'm thinking like I've got like 11 pairs of cowboy boots. That's the boots I'm talking about, girl.
No, I'll do boots. I can't do heels. Yeah.
All right. So let me ask this. This is one that's a unique one that I decided to add this time. What's worse, doing laundry or dishes?
Ooh, I actually like doing dishes. So I'm going to go with laundry. I don't like folding.
Oh, I don't know. I don't do either. My wife doesn't.
So I'll take dishes. I love washing dishes. There's something about that just feels good.
Yeah. I do them when my wife's not here. I can do them. I can do them, but my wife does it all. So yeah, I can do it. I just let her do it. I give her that privilege. How about another Southern thing? Tacos or hamburgers?
Burgers.
Oh, I love a hamburger person. Beer or wine?
Wine.
White or red?
It is now red. Past few years it has been red.
You got some wineries close to you?
There's a few. Yes.
Yeah.
And I have not gone to the ones around here. So that's on my actual list because I didn't realize there were a few close by.
So like South Texas, like down like it's like Fredericksburg area, we've gotten a lot of wineries popping up that are really good. I mean, we about twice a year, my wife and I go down and tour. You know what I mean? And we try to hit some new ones every time because there's probably, since I've moved to Texas, I've been going down to Fredericksburg for 20 years. I'll bet you now there's at least another 20 brand new ones in the past 3 years. Yeah. They're just popping up everywhere down there. Yeah. My next one here. All right. Again, in this whole pandemic thing now, are you a dine-in girl or would you rather get takeout and go home?
Take out and go home.
Sometimes I'm like that, but like sometimes I still want to go eat out.
Yeah, I'll only do if it's outside dining right now.
Yeah. Oh, you guys you're not open up for inside, right? Or
we are open. No, we open.
You just don't do it.
I just don't do it. No, they have to have outside dining for me to go and eat there.
Okay. Yeah, we're open, but we go in, but we still have space between people. So I mean, anyway. My next two are the controversial ones that everybody argues about. The next one being the toilet paper. Does it go over on the roll or under?
You know, for years I liked the under. My husband did the over, but I actually have switched. I like the over. I didn't think I would. I think I was resistant because it was the opposite, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it this way. But I must say, I think I like the over. So we are now both easily over in this household.
Okay. I love that question. All right, Laurie, because I've had people on my show who are all the peace and love and rainbows and unicorns and pretty froggies and all that stuff. And I asked that question and they're like, fangs, come on, over. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, yeah.
People are very particular.
I didn't send them to you for therapy. Over the toilet paper, that's all. You know what I mean? My last one. All right. I always ask this one. It's kind of a funny one, but boxers or briefs?
Boxers, all about comfort.
All about comfort?
Room.
This doesn't mean you're wearing them, by the way. I mean, you can wear them, like them.
Comfort.
One more time, Laurie, I appreciate you being my guest on here, coming in today and sharing with us and having fun. We had a lot of fun on today's show. Say your website one more time for the people, both the audio and the video, so they can get a hold of you.
It is www.throughthehands.com.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you being my guest today. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
I want to thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Cool.
Yeah.
To you, the guest, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. Do me a favor. Go to throughthehands.com. Check out Laurie. All right. I know she's got a free little thing there. You can join her newsletter. So I think you should do that and find out. All of us, every now and then, need to know some secrets about how to take care of things and how to heal. That is why we had today's guest on. Please go check her out. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to our show on YouTube as well as where you get your podcast. I'm Tim Gillette. This is the Tim Gillette Show, and I'll be back real soon with another guest. I'll talk to you then. Until then, have a great day, guys.
Bye.